Gentlemen, welcome back. Happy to have you guys here again. I want to get right into it because we got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. You referenced already the outstanding, wonderful games of football that we got to experience this weekend, and we are going to start first with maybe the greatest non-Super Bowl game I've ever seen, which is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Buffalo Bills. Just Mikey, I'm going to start with you. Give me your thoughts on this game. Now we've had a couple of days to process. We've let it marinate. The highlights have been. What would you describe? Somebody was like, describe the game to me. How would you describe it to them?
Oh, it was why we watch football. That thing was awesome. I was sitting in the living room screaming and getting all worked up whenever something amazing would happen, which normally is what happens when the Steelers are playing and they're playing well. I was so happy that I didn't have a dog in the fight. I knew it was going to be a good game, or I was expecting it to be a good game. I thought it was an okay game. It turned into a great game, and then it turned into the best game that I can think of. I can't the only game that I can think of, Super Bowls included, that really topped that for me. And I know it's only because of the teams involved. It was the Cardinals Steelers Super Bowl from a couple years ago, but that is purely from my selfish standpoint as a Steelers fan. This game was in my memory the best one, the one I've had the most fun watching.
Craig, feelings on this game now a couple days removed?
It was captivating, and the coolest part is seeing all the still information come out about, like, first of all, Patty Mahomes acquired a new nickname as a result of something that is, I guess, confirmed that Andy Reid said that to him. But when things are grim, you be the Grim Reaper, or something close to that is what Andy said to him. Or the internet lied to me, could happen.
I mean, he said it in the press conference. That's what he said to Patrick Mahomes. So,
well, put Andy Reid on a whole nother level, which, by the way, he was already, because once he finally got the win and their four straight AFC championships, this could be, if they win, 3 straight Super Bowl appearances. And now he's the name dropper, though, because, and that you shared with me the graphic, and there's already a lot of memes going on about it, but like Patty walking and then the shadow is the Grim Reaper. To have 13 seconds left and do what they did, but I'll roll it back for a minute 54, and Josh Allen throws a dart. Gabriel Davis has what I believe will be a life-changing game for him, because he is now in the conversation as, like, I'm pretty sure he's good, and everyone's now going to know his name from that game. Those last 2 minutes, they scored some absurd amount of points. I forget what the total number was, but it was obscene. And any given moment, the weirdest part for me is, even when it got all the way down to 13, I didn't think the Chiefs were out of it. For whatever reason, of watching the Chiefs this many years at this point, which is all the Patty Mahomes years, the last 4, it's like, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. They can have two completions. They have a timeout. And then I saw today Kelsey's mic'd up. I don't know if you caught that as well. Mm-hmm. He's like, he called what was going to be available, spoke to Hill, spoke to Mahomes. This all was happening on the field. I thought that was so cool too. That's something that if you guys, again, the listeners, or Mike, if you haven't seen that yet, seeing Kelsey just talk through what was going to happen, and then it just did that way because he was reading the defense. And I'm sure some of the other guys were too, but that's why they're going to keep having success like this.
Yeah, the problem, I thought the game was over after the Bills' last touchdown, and I still feel cheated. I really want to see Burrow and Allen go at it in the AFC Championship game, but it is one of the most epic failures on defense and special teams. The coach made an interesting comment where he didn't come out and really say what he wanted, but he kind of implied that it was not the goal to kick it deep the way they did. I think the goal was to kind of kick it down to the 5 and somewhere in there.
Threw Tyler Bass under several buses,
or the special teams coach, because he didn't say there was some open-endedness as to who's to blame for kicking deep. But then the defense, man, why are you defending the sideline when they've got all their timeouts? You can't do that.
They game themselves. They got in their own heads. They're like, well, they're going to do that. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. And then they leave the wide open gaps.
And blown coverages on all the stars. And it's just the defense was gassed, but there's no way you play that game 100 times and Mahomes and the Chiefs are able to do what they did twice, maybe. It's just the Bills. It was a lot of mental errors on the Bills' part that led him in there. But yeah, that's the only reason why that was the only time where I thought the game was officially, truly over and done was when the Bills scored that last touchdown. And then for them to march downfield in 2 plays, and it was like, oh, this game's continuing. We get more of this. This is great. This is great.
Kelsey kick, and we're in overtime. That was it.
So the reason I disagree with what you said, Mikey, I think this happens to the Chiefs 99 times out of 100, just because they've been here before. This is the first time the Bills had gotten here and been in a dogfight with Kansas City in this kind of way. Patty Mahomes has been here before. He's had to make the throws. He's had to lead the charge down the field. He's had to score points. He's looked in the eyes of Tom Brady and said, "You're not taking my youth, motherfucker." And he's gone down the field to score points. Josh Allen hasn't had to do that yet. He did it, but the defense hasn't had to do that against Patty Mahomes yet. And it showed the number 1 defense in the NFL, no match for who we are now calling Patrick Grim Reaper Mahomes, at least in this general area.
Oh, absolutely.
But that's my opinion. I just think.
Yeah,
sorry, go ahead.
I just think any competent defense would get the necessary
number 1 defense in the NFL.
There.
But you nailed that they were gassed out, dude. You nailed that though. 100%. They were gassed and they were not playing to their best.
They were defending the sidelines on the first play, which is a coaching issue.
Huge
and
mistake.
The second one, from what I understand, the guy who was supposed to cover Kelsey over the middle ran somewhere else.
Well, maybe
that was probably an execution issue on his part, but not a physical one, a mental gaffe.
Maybe that's why there was no all pros on the team.
Maybe.
I'm just saying,
the Pro Bowl, they've got their, seeing eyeglass, and they were able to tell what was happening in the future.
They were like, these guys are going to flounder in the worst moment possible.
Yeah.
And that's why. But don't you guys think this could be literally the best thing that ever happened to Josh Allen? Because it's what happened to Pat in 2018 and helped forge what is needed, right? Allen clearly now has all the physical things. It's kind of alarming how much he's grown in the last 2 seasons. But that loss that way, when he was on the sideline, he did what he needed to do to win. He showed that he can get that done. And just like Mahomes had to watch Brady march down and never got on the field in overtime, does this start what we all, I think, as football fans hope? Yes, what could be a great rivalry there, but also that Allen's going to get him some as well, is what I'm thinking is what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this is going to only brighten the star that is Josh Allen moving forward. And it's very interesting because this year, beginning of the year, you were very bullish on Josh Allen. Have you come full circle? Are you now in the camp of Josh Allen?
I was bearish. I was low on him.
You were very bullish.
No, bullish is good.
Is that good? Okay. So you were
full with the horns going up.
You were the negative one.
I was, but I still am on the point I was making, which is I can't believe he was ranked above Mahomes for fantasy purposes. That was my frustration, and I never remembered to look at who ended the season at 1. It actually could have been Allen.
I would be shocked if it wasn't Allen. Mahomes had a down year for the regular season.
I never checked.
Statistically,
I never checked what quarterback, what the standard scoring like rundown was. Brady had a lot of touchdowns and yards. It actually could have been him. Like I don't know, but Josh Allen impressed the hell out of me all season, and what I saw in the playoffs specifically. He now throws on target laser beams, not laser beams that are 8 yards off. Again, 2 seasons ago, not last season, but 2 seasons ago, he threw, I think, 50%. You know what I mean? Like this wasn't a guy you could trust. He was throwing, he was Taysom Hill, right?
Yeah.
He was a look like that with a way better arm than Taysom. Now he's a guy that I think, especially with Brady most likely leaving, Ben's going to be gone, even though he was a shell of himself. He was iconic. And then maybe Aaron leaves as well. He's certainly going to be one of the most accurate, hardest throwing, oh my God, he's ran and no one can tackle him guys. I still won't put him over Mahomes though. I just won't do it.
No, fantasy wise, according to CBS Sports, Josh Allen was 1
Mm-hmm.
and Mahomes was 4th this year.
Yeah. Which validates that he was being talked about that way. It's just that's not what I felt. And I still, going into next season, I still wouldn't take Allen over Mahomes. I think Mahomes' ceiling is somehow in my mind higher. Maybe it's from the MVP year, from the 50 touchdown year. I don't know why, or just again the man love that seems to have brewed in me after watching him play. He can make all these throws, and yes. First 8 games of the season, he took more risks than usual. There may have been more pressure on him with the $477 million and all this stuff going on. But that really got figured out, didn't it? As we saw with the 10 games after that in the playoffs, they're hot. They've been on fire. And while the Bengals also have a lot of steam going in, it just really feels like another year where watch out for the Chiefs. And on the other side, it would be very interesting to see that rematch 49ers Chiefs for me.
I'll be all in on Allen next year over Mahomes because Allen doesn't have a TikTok brother to root against.
Let's touch on that really quick. How awful is this for Patrick Mahomes' like brand, just in general?
Well, here's the thing. It's not his fault, but he does have to mitigate some stuff. His wife was a semi-influencer in the fitness space. The brother became a dummy influencer just as a result of having the name. But family's family, and it's such a weird thing to be as famous as Patrick is at this age. You know, there's only a few people on earth that get to that. There's a couple pop stars, there's a couple movie stars, there's a couple athletes, but usually it takes longer to get to the level of the amount of money that's pouring in. We're talking State Farm, we're talking Gatorade, the shoes is Adidas,
yeah.
Adidas. So it's early, it's fast. He's quickly in that rarefied space, and if they don't figure that out, and the they I mean is like whatever you call his team or his camp, if they don't figure out how to mature the younger brother a bit into understanding that he's got a great opportunity, got a really good last name and a really good opportunity to step in well and not look like an ass at games and say terrible things about opponents or whatever, if they can clean that up, he can be a great asset. And then Mahomes' trajectory is on the business trajectory of the Brady, LeBrons, the Woodses, because it's already partially there. But a family fuck up. I mean, look what the British royal family's got to deal with, right?
The Mahomes also like just comes across to me as so down to earth and no nonsense with any of his stuff. Like he reminds me so much of LeBron when LeBron came into the league and just immediately had a Nike representative next to us. Like, we paid you too much money to be a knucklehead.
That's right.
And
he apologized for saying ass. Not even that's not a bad word technically.
No, when you say asshole, ass doesn't get bleeped. Hole gets bleeped.
That's right. He apologized for that. He gets it, but his brother don't.
No, and his wife got in a little bit of hot water too for
the champagne shower,
and then going on Twitter and saying like, I just want to do what I want to do and without consequences, which is like, woo.
But come on. But you're Mrs. Mahomes now. Like you have to.
And it's just to me it's ironic to have somebody who is so on it to be surrounded by just no other way to describe it outside of knuckleheads. Like they're not criminals. They're not doing these awful, horrible things. They're just doing things that you're like, come on, be better than that.
Dumb stuff. They're just doing dumb stuff.
Just be smart. Better than just that. Be smart.
It's erosive to the brand, but I get it. I'll go on the other side. I get their perspective of like, this sucks that I even have to act away. But it's a benefit, reward. There's a scale here. So
there's several hundred million reasons in your future as to why you should.
And I would even push past the money. Money's awesome for things and all that. It's the opportunities that they would have as a result. She, like I said, could have a fitness brand if she wants now. She could not. She could go and be private in the private sector, like rich people are able to do, and like jump off a grid essentially and never be found. There's athletic wives that do that. The new trend, however, partly because Mel sends me a lot of TikToks and I like TikTok, there's a lot of NFL wives and NBA wives starting really open social profiles. Like Myers Leonard's wife is talking up all their process, how they do what they do. I'm seeing a lot of players because they're all realizing there's something after the game. And if I create a brand, this could be a lot of who knows what, but I think so many of them are going to make like mistakes, and that can't happen at that level that Mahomes is at for a long time. It can happen for a little bit, but you nailed it. A representative will do some media training for somebody at some point because there's too much money in him as a brand. And we haven't even seen it yet, I don't think, which is a little scary that he's only in year 5. And I don't think we've seen how big he can be.
They're only going to get better. They're only going to get better. And it's only the Ponzi scheme of the Chiefs now becomes take less money, get a real damn good shot at a ring. And you get your ring here, your next contract, you can get paid, but you're coming here for your ring. Great. Awesome. That sounds great. Let's do that. So they're only going to get better, which is only going to put him in the public eye more. I agree. I think Jackson is his name, and his wife's name, I think, is Brittany. I want to say that, but I'm not sure if I'm just making her a white woman with blonde hairs named Brittany, but I don't know.
I like that they're high school sweethearts. That's cute, right?
No, the thing is, I feel like last year, Jackson dancing on Sean Taylor's number, doing the TikToks on the sideline before the game, talking shit about, she was very in the background, but supportive. It was like, that's Mrs. Mahomes. She's carrying his baby. They're adorable and awesome, and we love them. And now it's like, do we love them or do we love him?
I want her to do her thing. I want her, if she's going to be a fitness influencer, be a fitness influencer, but don't think that the world isn't all over you as who you are married to. Let's be real. That's just the reality of the situation.
I mean, he's new NFL royalty. That's what we want to. So real quick to
Mike
touch
didn't
on
like that phrase. Mike didn't like that.
Like
phrase.
that. You know, like
no,
that?
I was just going to ask, did she do anything else besides the champagne thing? Because that's literally the only thing I've ever heard of her besides.
She's done other TikToks and stuff with Jackson.
With Jackson, the two of them.
Yeah, they do the TikToks
but were
together
they
sometimes.
Bad TikToks?
No,
or...
I don't. The only real thing that was disrespectful is he was dancing on Taylor's number and at the center on a logo or two.
Yeah, and they did. I think one of them was together, like they had danced on a logo of another team together, and it was like, ooh, that's
they were just having fun. I get that. It's that the game is still very uptight.
Yeah. I guess my thing is like, it's so easy to apologize for some of this stuff. Why can't they? Why is it so hard to be like, you know what? Because dancing on the logo is like, yeah, okay, there's going to be people that frown upon it and the other fan base is going to frown upon it. Really, Jackson Mahomes, the thing that always pops up with him is more his attitude. And when he does get called out for doing stuff like the Sean Taylor number thing, it's the way he responds to it.
Right.
And the only thing I've ever seen with Mahomes' wife was the champagne on the freezing cold fans. And I feel like that would just be such a super thing. Like, I'm sorry, I got caught up in the moment. I was super excited. I didn't think, and I will not do that again.
To your point, Giselle has gotten herself in some hot water with a statement here and there. So,
she is media trained.
Benefit of the doubt.
She's Victoria's Secret media trained.
But also she said things I thought that were kind of like heat of the moment, weren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like heat of the moment in the thing, talking about idiot receivers and
everyone's over it.
In an elevator going down after the game, she was like, he can't do it all.
Yeah.
And she was right, by the way. She was absolutely
she wasn't wrong. So
no,
I don't know. I feel like that's just a thing in life. Like, why don't people just be able to admit that they're wrong
people
quicker and then move on,
though, bro? That and at the highest levels of visibility, people struggle with apologies, and sometimes we never get one. Sometimes we get a weird one. Sometimes we get a written statement one when it's from people at that level.
I really do think that the media training on the Jackson side of things curbs a lot of this, because he was the Sean Taylor. He was the restaurant. If you guys heard about the restaurant that he walked into, wrote a really bad review on his Instagram or TikTok or something, and they blasted him back. He dumped waters on fans in Baltimore, like just did some bad stuff.
Douchebag stuff. He's trying to get attention.
It's not good. It's not good.
He's the biggest quarterback in the world's, well, soon, once Brady retires, biggest quarterback in the world's, little brother. And
So I want to real quick finish running through this. Mahomes, is he the next one? Are we crowning him? If he gets a Super Bowl here, are we on Brady watch for the rest of his career? He's 26. It's conceivable the dude could play another 12 to 14 years.
we already are, though. We already were. This is how sports is and how sports journalism goes, right? We find the next one that can be even remotely near the greatest one, and the question mark gets added, and now you have a headline. Now you can have a conversation. I'm here for it. I'm fucking here for it. I mean, LeBron, the next Jordan, Kobe, the next Jordan, the next every number one pick. Is this the next Kobe? Is this the next Steph? Is this the next? And I went to basketball there because I always find a way to do that.
You do.
But in football, the next Brady got cemented, is lost in 18, MVP 19, victory right after to Super Bowl win. That was always going to tie him to he's the next. He's got to lose like a ton in a row now for that conversation to be over. He'd have to go 2 seasons in a row of like failure, and not, that doesn't mean going to the AFC Championship. That would mean like, oh, you're missing the playoffs now. You're not the guy. But until then, how could anyone? Who else is going to be talked about as the next Brady? And they always need to have one. You got to have one.
It's true. It drives the headlines, gets the clicks. Mikey, what do you think? Mahomes the next GOAT, young GOAT?
The GOAT. So to me, the GOAT conversation is lazy and boring often. And it gets, as Craig said, there are people out there that always feel like we have to be talking about somebody in that sense. And so they force it. They were forcing it on Brady, when he was 5-10 years into his career. And back then, Craig and I had many conversations where I was like, he's not there yet. He's not there. It's not part of it. It's not. And he didn't get to that status until he was in the back part of his career and was still succeeding. So are people going to do it? Yeah, people are going to talk about Mahomes and say, could he do it? Could he do it? Could he do it? And to me, I'm like, that's not an interesting conversation. Let's talk about what he is doing. Let's talk about all the other great young quarterbacks in the game. And then if they're in the league for 12 years, 15 years, 18 years, and they're still excelling down there, then we can start to have some conversations about, are they approaching the GOAT status of the Bradys of the world? And you can start to say, like, are they on a trajectory for it? Sure. But it's really hard to say where somebody finishes all time when they're still in the first half of their career.
The extremes sell more magazines, though. You know what I mean?
Magazines are a really bad example because,
hey,
maybe if they stopped trying to force goats down our throat, magazines would still be.
I should have went that gets more clicks. I don't even know why.
ESPN, the mag would still be here if it wasn't, 15 years of his Brady the next GOAT.
I'm still buying magazines. They're still at the store. I see them when I get my food.
And your fantasy football mag.
I refuse to do anything other than draft from a fantasy football mag for the rest of my life.
That is out of date immediately as soon as you buy it.
Immediately. And the best thing is,
it's out of date a month before it goes into print.
But dude, I think I've stuck to this for like 3 seasons now.
Everybody's got their process. Everybody's got their process.
I like coming in not first. I like talking a whole lot of shit, and I'm going to keep doing it.
Mikey, I'm going to start with you. Was this the best quarterbacked game in NFL history?
Boy, is really hard to think of another one. So I did some research. And I think I might have found a game.
We have our stat boy
that had better quarterback play going all the way back to January 10th, 2010.
That was a lot.
This was a wild card game. Green Bay Packers at the Arizona Cardinals. Now, last week's game, it's really hard to compare, right? Without watching the games back to back. So you kind of look at the raw stats, and the guys, Mahomes and Allen, their passing stats were good, but they weren't like 500 yards passing, 5 touchdowns or whatever. So they combined for 8 touchdowns and 0 turnovers, which is pretty phenomenal. In this game, the Packers and Cardinals, you had Aaron Rodgers, who did throw an interception and had a fumble, but he threw 4 touchdowns. Kurt Warner had 5 touchdowns, no sacks. The game went down to the wire. It was 45-45 going into overtime. Packers win the toss. Aaron Rodgers, third down, gets sacked, fumbles, and the Cardinals score a touchdown on that play, and that's how they win. So if you are looking for the greatest quarterback game in history, the only reason why this one might be knocked out is because Aaron Rodgers lost it on the last play of the game in overtime. But I feel like this would be the closest one to topping what we saw on Saturday.
Craig, what's your opinion?
I love that he found that game, right? I love that. That's awesome. But I agree with your close there, Mike. I think you nailed the one reason why maybe what we just saw is the best. Aaron being the reason that ended, or the defensive ends, more likely their rush.
No, it was Aaron's fault. He should have been vaccinated.
Aaron.
It's his fault.
You're right. It was absolutely his fault.
He was immunized. We thought he was immunized against the fumble.
He wasn't.
And it didn't happen.
He wasn't.
Exactly. Minus 10 years of foresight should have been there. He should have really been able to know that he needed that. But because of that, and you kind of set it up that way, but I agree with it. Like that alone, neither of them in those moments, even Allen, who ends up losing, was the reason they lost. It was all down to how the defense fell apart. So we, I think, did see what is going to be a historic game. It's going to get replay. We're going to see it on the NFL films. We're going to see, I mean, these days, there was a Kurt Warner movie that just came out. Like we might see a movie made just about that one game, and the hug that Mahomes ran 80 yards from his own teammates to run and hug Allen and talk to him. Like, not to bring back our earlier point, but that guy might actually care about other people too. So what if he's just awesome at football, loving football, great brand guy, although he's still working as a pitch man. I'm not buying stuff because of him yet, but I will soon, I'm sure. That's not true. I bought a pair of his shoes. Yeah, so he's got me already. But he ran down there to connect with Allen. Allen was affected by it positively. We might have, and I know I'm one of those now, but this is the Brady Manning that we needed. This is, we don't have that anymore. We pine for Manning so much, we're willing to watch a technically deficient show just to hear him talk a little bit. Hopefully they'll work the tech out next year or whatever. But this guy, and we just saw one of his greatest performances.